Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to kick off today's presentation with our first slide, the global economy. We'll be exploring the big picture of how economies worldwide are interconnected and evolving. Over the next few minutes, we'll cover key trends, challenges, and opportunities shaping the global economic landscape. Let's get started. Let's take a look at slide 2, which outlines the key themes we'll explore in this presentation. We start with the intended learning outcomes, giving us a clear idea of what we aim to understand by the end. Moving on, we have the 4 interconnected dimensions of global economy, which highlight how different aspects, economic, political, social, and environmental, are closely linked in today's global landscape. Next, the slide touches on actors of economic globalization, emphasizing the various players involved, from governments and corporations to international organizations. We then see references to globalization of trade of goods and services, illustrating how interconnected markets have become across borders. As we proceed, you'll notice mentions of regional organizations like the Asian regionalism and ASEAN, which demonstrate regional cooperation efforts, alongside global institutions such as the United Nations and World Bank that shape international policy. The slide also references important concepts like international law and principles, which underpin how nations interact legally and diplomatically, and attributes of global corporations, highlighting the power and influence of transnational companies. Other notable points include the global divides, the North and the South, reminding us of the ongoing disparities in development and resources, and the role of intergovernmental organizations like NATO and OPEC in maintaining stability and managing resources. Finally, we see themes like global governance, which encapsulate how international cooperation is managed to address global issues, and questions such as, does economic globalization divide or unite the world? Encouraging us to think critically about the overall impact. All these elements together help us grasp the complex, interconnected nature of our global system today. Let's start by articulating a clear stance on global economic integration. I believe that economic integration offers many benefits, such as increased trade, investment, and shared prosperity. However, it's also important to recognize the challenges it can bring, like economic disparities and loss of local industries. Next, we will analyze the actors that facilitate economic globalization. These include multinational corporations, international financial institutions, and governments, all playing crucial roles in shaping the global economy. Finally, we will define economic globalization itself. It refers to the process by which economies around the world become more interconnected and interdependent through trade, investment, technology, and policy coordination. By understanding these points, we can better grasp the overall theme of how global economic integration functions and its impact on our world. Now, let's explore the idea of togetherness, which really means mutual reliance. When countries and people depend on each other, they form what we call interdependency. This concept is at the heart of economic activities that cross borders, things like trade and business that involve more than one country. Transnational activities are those that operate across national boundaries, connecting economies worldwide. Economic globalization, in this context, is about transforming the world economy into a more integrated system. As Shentz described back in 2003, it's like making the global economy an organic system, extending economic processes and relationships to more and more countries, and deepening the economic interdependence among them. This interconnectedness means that what happens in one country can have ripple effects across others, shaping global markets and economies. It's a powerful process that ties the world together economically, emphasizing how essential mutual reliance and cross-border interactions are in today's globalized economy. It refers to the increasing integration of economies around the world, particularly through the movement of goods, services, and capital across borders. This process, often called economic globalization, means that countries are becoming more connected and interdependent. When we talk about this, we're looking at how international trade and investment flow more freely than ever before. The goal is to understand how these connections influence economic growth, development, and even the stability of global markets. As we continue with the presentation, keep in mind that globalization isn't just about trade. It's about the broader integration of economies that shapes the world we live in today. Now, let's look at how the interdependence of world economies is expanding. Shankwin in 2000 pointed out that this growth is mainly due to several key factors. First, there's the increasing scale of cross-border trade, both in commodities and services, which means countries are more connected than ever through their economic exchanges. Then, we see a significant flow of international capital, with investments moving across borders to seek new opportunities. Finally, the rapid spread of technology plays a crucial role, enabling faster communication, innovation, and integration across countries. Overall, these elements are fueling economic globalization, making our world more interconnected and interdependent than ever before. This trend is central to understanding how economies now operate on a truly global scale. Let's take a closer look at how international capital flows through foreign direct investments, or FDI. This is when companies set up businesses in other countries, creating a physical presence abroad. For example, we see this happening in countries like Australia, the United States, and China, where foreign companies establish their operations to tap into new markets and resources. Now, moving to the Philippines, cross-border trading is also a key aspect of economic globalization. Here, we see partnerships forming between local and foreign companies, which helps boost trade and economic growth. These collaborations are a clear example of how interconnected our economies have become, supporting the overall theme of globalization and how it influences our local and global economies alike. All right, let's break down these interconnected dimensions of the global economy. First, we have the globalization of financial and capital markets. This means that financial resources and investments can now move across borders much more easily, creating a more integrated and efficient financial system worldwide. Next, the globalization of production refers to companies spreading their manufacturing and operations across different countries to optimize costs and access new markets. Then, we have the globalization of technology and communication, which has revolutionized how we share information instantly, fostering innovation and collaboration on a global scale. Finally, the globalization of trade in goods and services highlights how international commerce has expanded, allowing countries to specialize and benefit from a broader array of products and services. All these dimensions are interconnected, shaping the modern global economy we see today. They're crucial because they influence economic growth, competitiveness, and even social development across nations. Understanding these interconnected aspects helps us grasp the bigger picture of how our world is more connected than ever before. As we look at the increasing number of business process outsourcing companies in the Philippines, what we're really seeing is a clear effort to make trade flow more smoothly, predictably, and freely. These BPOs play a critical role in supporting global commerce by providing efficient services that help keep international trade seamless. Now, shifting our focus to China, we see its emergence as a major supplier and exporter of manufactured goods. This development has significantly eased trade among countries because China's manufacturing capacity allows for a broader and more affordable range of products to be available worldwide. China officially established its position in global trade back in 1995, and since then, it's become a key player that continues to influence how goods move across borders. All of these points tie into the larger theme of the globalization of trade in goods and services. The role of organizations like the WTO has been instrumental in promoting an environment where trade can grow and evolve smoothly, fostering economic connections across nations. Now, let's consider how technology and communication have become truly globalized. Thanks to the internet and advanced communication technologies, various transactions and interactivities happen instantly. Whether it's a business deal, a social interaction, or accessing information, Everything is just a click away and occurs in real time. This rapid exchange of information and services is a key driver of globalization, breaking down geographical barriers and connecting people worldwide. It's fascinating to see how these technological advancements are shaping our interconnected world, making everything more accessible and efficient. This rapid flow of information underscores the profound impact of technology on our daily lives and global economy, tying directly into our overall theme of technological evolution and its influence on society. This is best illustrated by the existence of multinational corporations, or MNCs, and transnational corporations, or TNCs. These companies operate across multiple countries, which really highlights the globalization of production. What this means is that production processes are no longer confined to one location. Instead, different stages happen in various parts of the world. This interconnectedness allows companies to optimize costs, access new markets, and tap into diverse resources. So, when we see these big corporations operating seamlessly across borders, it's a clear sign of how deeply interconnected and globalized our production systems have become. This concept ties directly into the overall theme of globalization, showing how economic activities are now more international than ever before. Let's take a closer look at the Coca-Cola Company as an example of a multinational corporation, or MNC. This company is based in Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States. What makes it a great example is that Coca-Cola manufactures syrup concentrates, which are then distributed to bottlers in various countries around the world. For instance, in the Philippines, local bottlers take these concentrates and produce the bottled Coca-Cola that we enjoy. This setup highlights how MNCs operate across borders, manufacturing in one country, but selling and distributing products globally. It also shows how a company can adapt to different markets while maintaining a consistent brand and product. By understanding Coca-Cola's model, we see how MNCs can leverage global resources and local partnerships to expand their reach and influence worldwide. This example ties back to our overall theme of exploring how international companies operate and succeed across different markets. Now, let's look at some more complex organizations that actually give decision-making powers directly to individual foreign markets. These organizations tend to be more decentralized, allowing each market to operate somewhat independently based on local needs. First up, we have transnational companies, or TNCs. These companies have investments in multiple countries, which is a key point. However, unlike some other types, they don't necessarily have a coordinated or standardized product offering across all those markets. So, each market might have slightly different products or strategies tailored to local preferences, but the overall investment is quite extensive. Then there are multinational companies, or MNCs. These also operate in multiple countries, but there's a notable difference. MNCs tend to have more centralized control over their product offerings. They usually coordinate their strategies across countries, maintaining consistency in branding and product lines. Understanding these distinctions is important because it highlights how different organizations adapt their decision-making processes based on their structure and goals. This connects back to our overall theme of how global businesses manage operations across diverse markets. Now, let's take a closer look at some of the key actors that drive economic globalization. First, we have international financial institutions, which play a crucial role by providing funding, setting regulations, and facilitating economic stability across countries. These organizations help coordinate economic policies and support development projects worldwide. Next are global corporations, or multinational companies, that operate across multiple countries. They are major players in global trade, investment, and innovation, often shaping markets and influencing local economies. Their reach and resources make them powerful actors in the global economy. Then we have nation-states, which are fundamental players in shaping economic policies, trade agreements, and regulations. While globalization encourages interconnectedness, countries still retain sovereignty and influence over their own economic systems. Together, these actors, international financial institutions, global corporations, and nation-states, are interconnected and collectively drive the ongoing process of economic globalization. They each have unique roles, but their interactions shape the global economy that we see today. Boyer and Drake in 1996 pointed out an interesting shift happening with nation-states. They suggest that the traditional role of these states as the primary managers of their national economies is now being reshaped by the forces of globalization. What does that mean? Well, historically, nation-states had almost complete control over economic policies, trade, and how their economies developed. But with globalization, the interconnectedness and interdependence of economies across borders have increased dramatically. This means that the role of a nation-state is becoming more complex. They're still important, but their influence is being refined. They're no longer the sole managers of their economies. Instead, they are now part of a larger, more integrated global system where international organizations, multinational corporations, and cross-border flows of goods, capital, and information also play critical roles. So, as we think about the overall theme of this presentation, the changing landscape of economic management, it's crucial to recognize that the nation-state's role is evolving, not disappearing. They're adapting to these new realities brought about by globalization, which is shaping economic policies and strategies in ways we haven't seen before. Filipino consumers are increasingly showing a preference for global products and services. This shift means that local or national products and technologies are at risk of becoming outdated or less relevant. When people have access to international brands that often offer newer, more innovative solutions, the demand for local options can decline. This trend highlights how global influence is shaping consumer choices today. It's important to understand that this isn't just about preferences. It has significant implications for local industries and businesses. As we move through this presentation, keep in mind how the global marketplace is impacting our local economy and the importance of adapting to these changing consumer behaviors. After the two devastating world wars, global leaders realized the urgent need to create a system that could promote lasting peace and stability. One of the key efforts in this direction was the establishment of international financial institutions. These institutions were designed to help countries manage their economies more effectively and prevent the kind of economic instability that often contributed to conflict. This brings us to the Bretton Woods system, which was a groundbreaking framework created in 1944. It aimed to foster economic cooperation and stability by fixing exchange rates and promoting international trade. Underpinning this system were the international financial institutions, like the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. These organizations were set up to provide financial support, facilitate economic development, and ensure that countries could recover and grow after the war. Overall, these efforts marked a significant move toward a more interconnected and resilient global economic order, one that aimed to support peace through economic stability and cooperation. Let's talk about some of the major international financial institutions that play a vital role in the global economy. First, we have the International Monetary Fund, or IMF. The IMF provides financial stability by offering monetary cooperation and financial support to countries facing balance of payments problems. It also promotes sustainable economic growth and helps countries implement sound economic policies. Next, there's the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, commonly known as the IBRD, or simply the World Bank. The World Bank focuses on development projects, providing loans and grants to help countries reduce poverty and improve their infrastructure, education, and health services. Both the IMF and the World Bank are part of what we call the Bretton Woods institutions, established after World War II to promote global economic stability and development. These institutions are interconnected, working together to support economic stability, development, and cooperation across nations. Understanding their roles helps us see how international financial cooperation is essential for managing economic challenges and fostering growth worldwide. Now, let's turn our attention to the World Bank, which plays a crucial role in global development. Its main responsibility is the post-war reconstruction, helping countries rebuild after conflicts or crises. But beyond that, it also provides loans to countries for their capital programs, which can include infrastructure projects like roads, schools, and hospitals. The idea is to support economic growth and development by offering financial resources and expertise. This connects to our overall theme of how international organizations assist in stabilizing and growing economies around the world. The World Bank's work is essential for fostering sustainable development and improving living standards in many nations. The IMF, or International Monetary Fund, is an organization that plays a crucial role in the global economy. Its main purpose is to facilitate international trade, making sure that countries can exchange goods and services smoothly across borders. It also works to promote high employment levels and sustainable growth, which means helping countries develop in ways that last over the long term without harming their environment or depleting resources. Additionally, the IMF aims to reduce poverty worldwide, supporting nations in improving the living standards of their populations. Overall, the IMF is a key player in maintaining economic stability and fostering growth, which connects directly to our broader theme of understanding how global financial systems support development and prosperity. Now, as we look at this slide, we're focusing on the key actors involved in economic globalization: nation-states, global corporations, and international monetary systems. These players are constantly shaping the global economy and influencing how interconnected or divided our world becomes. There's an ongoing debate about whether this process brings us closer together or pulls us apart. On one hand, economic globalization can promote unity by fostering trade, cultural exchanges, and shared prosperity. It can create opportunities for collaboration and mutual growth. On the other hand, it can also lead to divisions, inequality, exploitation, and economic disparities that leave some communities behind. Some argue that globalization benefits only certain groups or regions, deepening existing divides. This question, does economic globalization unite or divide the world, is central to understanding its overall impact. It ties directly into our broader theme of globalization's complex effects. It's not a simple answer, but an important one to consider as we evaluate the future of our interconnected world. Benefits are unevenly distributed among nations, which means that some countries gain more from economic globalization than others. This often leads to the exploitation of goods and services, where resources and labor are utilized differently depending on the country's position in the global economy. On one hand, globalization creates mutual dependence between developing and developed countries, as noted by Origi in 2005. This interconnectedness can be beneficial because it encourages collaboration and shared growth. It also has the potential to reduce poverty, as shown by the World Bank in 2002. When countries engage in global trade and investment, incomes can become more widely distributed across the world. Furthermore, globalization fosters universal economic growth and development, which Banks highlighted in 2014. This means that, in theory, economic activities and prosperity can spread beyond borders, lifting many nations along the way. So the big question remains, does economic globalization divide or unite the world? As we see, it has the power to do both. It can create disparities and dependencies, but also offers opportunities for shared progress and development. It's a complex dynamic that we need to understand in the context of our overall discussion. Economic globalization impacts all nations and citizens because it leads to a growing interconnectedness of economies worldwide. This means that what happens in one country can quickly influence others, creating a more integrated global economy. The key players driving this process are nation-states, which are governments working to adapt and shape these changes, global corporations, which operate across borders and influence markets everywhere, and international monetary systems, which facilitate financial flows between countries. Together, These elements form the backbone of economic globalization and help us understand its far-reaching effects. As we've discussed throughout this presentation, globalization shapes our economies, societies, and everyday lives in profound ways. Recognizing the roles of these major players helps us grasp the bigger picture of how interconnected our world truly is. Let's explore the attributes of global corporations today. These entities are characterized by their extensive reach, operating across multiple countries and markets. They tend to have significant influence over global trade, investment, and even policy decisions. Understanding their attributes helps us grasp how they shape the global economy. Now, to put this in context, let's take a brief look at the history of global market integration during the 20th century. It was a period marked by rapid technological advances, international trade agreements, and the rise of multinational corporations. These developments gradually connected isolated economies into a more interconnected world, laying the groundwork for today's global marketplace. Finally, let's discuss the role of international financial institutions, such as the IMF and the World Bank. These organizations have played a crucial part in creating what we now call a global economy. They provide financial support, set economic standards, and promote cooperation among nations. Their efforts have helped stabilize markets, facilitate trade, and foster economic development worldwide. By understanding these points, we can see how global corporations, historical market integration, and international financial institutions all contribute to the interconnected economic landscape we operate in today. Let's take a closer look at some of the key organizations that support international financial stability and development. Starting with the Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency, or MIGA, which plays a crucial role in encouraging foreign investment by providing guarantees that reduce risks for investors. Then there's the International Development Association, or IDA, which focuses on helping the world's poorest countries achieve sustainable growth and development. Their primary purpose is to facilitate international trade, stabilize economies, and restore sustainable growth in struggling regions. Moving on, we have the International Monetary Fund, or IMF, which is central to maintaining global monetary stability by offering financial assistance and policy advice to member countries. The International Center for Settlement and Investment Disputes is also important, providing a neutral platform for resolving international investment disputes efficiently. At the core of these efforts is the World Bank, whose main purpose is to end extreme poverty and promote shared prosperity. Within the World Bank Group, we find 5 key organizations, including the International Financial Corporation, which supports private sector development, the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, focusing on large-scale development projects, and others like the International Finance Corporation and the International Center for Settlement and Investment. Collectively, these entities form a network of intergovernmental organizations and financial institutions that work together to foster global economic stability and development. They are interconnected parts of a broader strategy to promote sustainable growth around the world. These institutions, like the Asian Development Bank and the African Development Bank, were created with a very important purpose in mind. They were established specifically to foster social progress and promote economic growth in their regions. Their main goal is to address and reduce poverty, which remains a major challenge in many parts of the world. By providing financial support and technical assistance, these banks help countries implement development projects that can improve living standards, create jobs, and build stronger communities. Connecting this to our overall theme, these institutions exemplify how international cooperation and targeted financial strategies can drive meaningful change and help lift people out of poverty. Now, if we look at this slide, you'll notice that the goals of the African Development Bank are quite similar to those of the Asian Development Bank. Both institutions are primarily focused on fostering sustainable development in their respective regions. The African Development Bank aims to promote social and economic growth across Africa, ensuring that development benefits everyone and leads to long-term stability. Similarly, the Asian Development Bank works to support social and economic development throughout Asia, helping countries in the region achieve more inclusive growth. What's important here is understanding that, despite working in different parts of the world, these banks share a common mission: to drive progress that is sustainable and beneficial for communities. This highlights how regional development banks play a vital role in addressing specific regional needs while sharing overarching goals of development and stability, which ties into our overall theme of fostering global sustainable development. Let's look at some examples of economic and political integrations. These are regional agreements that aim to foster cooperation and boost economic growth among member countries. A well-known example is the European Union, or EU, which not only facilitates free trade, but also promotes political stability and shared policies across Europe. Another key example is NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, which connects the United States, Canada, and Mexico to eliminate tariffs and encourage economic integration. These agreements are important because they help countries work together more closely, creating larger markets and stronger political ties. Overall, they play a crucial role in shaping global economic and political landscapes, aligning with our broader theme of how regional cooperation influences international relations and economic development. Clearly, these global institutions play a crucial role as active agents in fostering social and economic development around the world. They help facilitate cooperation, provide necessary resources, and set standards that guide countries toward sustainable growth. As we wrap up our discussion on economic globalization, it's important to recognize how these institutions influence the interconnectedness of our economies. They ensure that the benefits of globalization are more widely shared and help address the challenges that come with increased global integration. Overall, their work is vital in shaping a more stable and equitable global economy, reinforcing the themes we've explored throughout this presentation. It does not happen overnight. Building a truly integrated global economy takes time and effort. It's the result of gradually establishing connections across countries, making trade and commerce more homogenized. When we talk about global market integration, we're referring to how different economies become interconnected, creating a seamless flow of goods, services, and capital. This process involves breaking down barriers, standardizing practices, and fostering cooperation among nations. As a result, markets become more aligned, which can lead to greater efficiency and growth worldwide. This is a key part of understanding how our modern economy functions. Everything is interconnected, and this integration shapes many of the economic opportunities and challenges we see today. As we look at this slide, what we see is how the rise of American, Japanese, and European global corporations really set the stage for the expansion of international trade. These companies grew larger and more influential, breaking down traditional barriers and opening new markets across the world. But it's important to remember that even before the 20th century, international trade was already an active part of global interactions, people exchanging goods and services across borders. What changed in the 20th century was the scale and speed of this exchange, driven by these powerful corporations. This trend in globalization highlights how these corporations became key players in connecting different economies, making international trade more dynamic and interconnected than ever before. So, in the larger picture, their rise didn't just boost trade. It fundamentally reshaped the global economic landscape, paving the way for even more integrated international markets. The ascent of global corporations really highlights how markets have become more interconnected and integrated across the world. When we look at these corporations, what stands out are their key attributes that enable them to operate on a truly international scale. These attributes include things like their extensive networks, their ability to adapt to different local markets, and their influence on global trade and economics. What's important to understand is that these companies aren't just local players anymore. They have a significant global footprint. This reflects the broader theme we've been discussing: how globalization is reshaping industries and economies. By examining these attributes, we can better appreciate how global corporations drive economic growth, innovation, and even cultural exchange across borders. They're a central part of the integrated market system we see today, connecting resources, consumers, and ideas worldwide. Let's take a closer look at the 3 key attributes of global corporations, as outlined by Neubauer in 2014. First, they are powerful entities capable of creating crises. This means that their actions, decisions, or even their failures can have significant ripple effects across the global economy and society. It highlights just how influential these corporations have become. Next, they possess economic prominence. In other words, they hold substantial market power, often dominating industries and shaping economic trends. Their financial strength and reach allow them to influence markets far beyond their borders. And finally, they serve as agents of economic development. These corporations don't just operate for profit, they also drive innovation, create jobs, and contribute to economic growth in various regions around the world. Understanding these attributes helps us grasp the dual nature of global corporations. They are both catalysts for progress and potential sources of instability. This ties back into the overall theme of how interconnected and impactful these entities are in our global system. Let's take a moment to differentiate between internationalism and globalism. Internationalism is about cooperation and collaboration between nations, often emphasizing shared interests and mutual benefits. Globalism, on the other hand, tends to focus on the interconnectedness and integration of economies, cultures, and political systems worldwide, sometimes implying a move toward a more unified global identity. Next, we'll look at the institutions that govern international relations. These include organizations like the United Nations, the World Trade Organization, and regional bodies such as the European Union. They serve as platforms for dialogue, cooperation, and regulation, helping to manage conflicts and promote stability in the international system. Now, let's consider how globalization affects governments. Globalization can lead to increased economic opportunities, but it also presents challenges like the need to adapt policies to a more interconnected world. Governments may face pressures to liberalize trade, coordinate on security issues, or address global problems like climate change. It's important to see how these influences shape national policies and sovereignty. By understanding these key concepts, we can better grasp the overall theme of the global interstate system and its complexities. Remember, the end goal is to see how these elements fit together to influence international relations and global stability. Now, let's take a closer look at the concept of a nation-state as a political community for executing peace. At its core, a nation-state is a political organization that operates continuously, providing stability and structure. It's more than just a government. It's a formal entity that maintains order over a defined territory and population. Moving down, we see the idea of a nation. A nation is essentially a group of people who share organic ties. These are the cultural, historical, or social bonds that hold them together. These ties create a sense of unity and identity among the members. Finally, the term state refers to the actual political organization. That is, the government and administrative machinery that makes sure the laws are enforced and the country runs smoothly on a day-to-day basis. When we connect these concepts, it becomes clear that the nation-state combines shared identity with organized political authority, making it a crucial structure for promoting peace and stability within a community. This interconnectedness is fundamental to understanding how nations function as peaceful entities in the international system. Nation-states are often compelled to adopt neoliberal ideas and free market principles in order to stay competitive in the global economy. This means they might need to reduce government intervention, privatize certain sectors, and open up markets to international trade and investment. While these changes can bring some benefits like increased efficiency and foreign investment, they also come with significant costs. One of the main issues is that countries can lose part of their control over their own economic development. They might find it harder to implement policies that prioritize social welfare or long-term growth, because of the pressures to conform to global market standards. This dynamic highlights a key aspect of globalization. It can challenge the sovereignty of nation-states, pushing them to conform to a set of economic norms that may not always align with their own development goals. Ultimately, this interconnectedness shapes how governments operate and influences the balance between national interests and global economic forces. This is observable in the establishment of the UN, which operates as a forum for nations to air their differences. It provides a space where countries can come together, discuss their issues openly, and seek peaceful solutions. Moving on to international law and principles, these form the foundation for how nations interact on the global stage. They set the rules and standards that help maintain order and promote cooperation. The key points here are the importance of respecting sovereignty, honoring treaties, and adhering to laws that are agreed upon internationally. These principles are crucial because they help prevent conflicts and foster stability. Ultimately, they connect to the broader theme of building a peaceful, cooperative international community. Now, moving on to the next key point, we see how activist groups are increasingly connecting with their counterparts in other states. This cross-state collaboration allows them to coordinate efforts and amplify their voices. By working together, these groups can put more pressure on their governments to bring about the change they seek. This phenomenon, known as the rise of transnational activism, highlights how social movements are no longer confined by borders. Instead, they operate on a broader scale, leveraging networks across regions to create a stronger impact. This development is really significant because it shows how activism has evolved into a more interconnected and strategic force, aligning with the overall theme of increasing activism and social change. You can see here how new communication networks are constantly being created, connecting communities through digital media. This is a clear example of how globalization fosters greater interconnectedness. These networks break down geographical barriers, allowing people to communicate, share ideas, and collaborate more easily than ever before. It's a powerful reminder of how technology shapes our social fabric, making the world feel smaller and more accessible. As we've discussed throughout this presentation, these connections are central to understanding globalization's deep impact on our societies and economies. They not only facilitate cultural exchange, but also bring about new opportunities for innovation and cooperation across borders. Facilitating connections among nation-states is essential for fostering strong relationships and promoting cooperation on global issues. One of the key ways we do this is through intergovernmental organizations, or IGOs. These organizations serve as platforms where countries can come together to discuss, negotiate, and collaborate on shared interests. They help create a sense of community and trust among nations, which is crucial for addressing complex challenges that cross borders. By participating in IGOs, countries can coordinate policies, share resources, and build mutual understanding. Ultimately, these organizations are vital for strengthening international ties and advancing collective goals, aligning perfectly with our overall theme of promoting peaceful and productive international relations. Let's take a closer look at the core aims of ASEAN. The organization focuses on promoting economic growth, social progress, and cultural development across the region. These goals are essential for fostering stability and prosperity among member countries. Speaking of members, ASEAN includes 9 countries: Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, Laos, Myanmar, and Cambodia. Altogether, there are 28 members involved in this regional cooperation. The main idea here is that ASEAN is not just about economic collaboration. It's about building a community that advances socially and culturally as well. This comprehensive approach helps strengthen ties and work toward shared development goals, which ties back to our overall theme of regional integration and progress. Let's take a moment to reflect on some fundamental goals that guide our collective efforts. First, promoting peace is essential. It creates stability and harmony within and between nations. Securing freedom without borders highlights the importance of open, unrestricted movement and the removal of barriers that hinder cooperation. Upholding sustainable development reminds us that our progress must be environmentally responsible economically viable, and socially inclusive. Now, specifically focusing on the European Union, or EU, this organization embodies many of these principles. The EU works to foster peace among its member states, ensuring stability in a historically tumultuous region. It also promotes the idea of free movement, allowing people, goods, and services to move seamlessly across borders. And importantly, the EU is committed to sustainable development, integrating environmental considerations into its policies to ensure a better future for all. All these points connect back to our broader theme of building a more cooperative, peaceful, and sustainable world. The EU's efforts serve as a powerful example of how regional integration can advance these vital goals. Now, let's talk about the World Trade Organization, or WTO. It's an intergovernmental organization that plays a crucial role in regulating international trade. Essentially, the WTO helps ensure that trade flows smoothly, predictably, and freely across borders. It sets the rules that countries agree to follow, which helps reduce trade barriers like tariffs and quotas. This organization also provides a platform for countries to negotiate trade agreements and resolve disputes. By doing so, the WTO promotes fair competition and economic growth worldwide. Connecting this to our overall theme, the WTO is fundamental in creating a stable and predictable environment for global trade, which benefits businesses and consumers everywhere. So on this slide, we're talking about NATO, which stands for the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It's an intergovernmental military alliance that brings together several North American and European states. The key idea here is that NATO was founded to promote collective defense, meaning that if one member is attacked, it's considered an attack on all members. This creates a strong sense of security and cooperation among its members. It's important to understand that NATO isn't just about military strength. It also symbolizes political unity and shared strategic interests across the Atlantic. Throughout our presentation, we see how alliances like NATO play a crucial role in maintaining stability and security in the region, especially during times of tension. So, in essence, NATO is a cornerstone of transatlantic cooperation, fostering mutual defense and partnership among its member states. Now, moving on to slide 45, we see that OPEC is an intergovernmental organization made up of 14 nations. What that means is that these countries have come together to coordinate their policies related to oil production and exports. The main goal here is to stabilize the oil markets, which benefits both producers and consumers by preventing extreme price fluctuations. OPEC plays a crucial role in shaping global energy markets, especially since oil remains a vital resource worldwide. You can think of it as a collective effort by these nations to manage their shared interests in the oil industry, and this cooperation significantly influences global economic stability and energy prices. So, understanding OPEC helps us grasp how international cooperation impacts energy supply and pricing, which ties directly into our overall theme of global energy dynamics. Now, let's take a closer look at the International Criminal Court, or ICC. It is an intergovernmental organization, which means it involves multiple countries working together. It also functions as an international tribunal, serving as a court that has the authority to prosecute individuals for serious crimes. The ICC is based in The Hague, in the Netherlands, a city known as a hub for international justice. Its main purpose is to hold individuals accountable for crimes such as genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. By doing so, it reinforces the rule of law at a global level. This organization plays a crucial role in the broader theme of international efforts to promote justice and accountability across nations. So, on this slide, we're looking at the key differences between globalism and internationalism. Globalism is really more of an attitude. It's about understanding the complex interconnections of our modern world. It emphasizes that we live in a networked world where connections span across continents, creating a global web of relationships. On the other hand, internationalism is more about the theory and practice. It's about nations working together and recognizing that nationalism should give way to the broader links that unite people across borders. It suggests that countries need to participate in a larger system, that global governance is necessary to manage these interconnected issues effectively. Together, these concepts help us see how global cooperation and understanding are shaping our world, moving beyond just national interests toward a more integrated global perspective. So overall, the global interstate system is a key aspect of contemporary political globalization. What this means is that countries around the world are increasingly working together through formal organizations called intergovernmental organizations. These groups help nations collaborate on issues that cross borders, like security, trade, and environmental concerns. This system reflects a move away from isolated nation-states towards a more interconnected and cooperative global community. It's an important part of understanding how our world is evolving politically, showing that nations recognize the benefits of partnership and shared efforts. This slide ties into the broader theme of globalization by illustrating how political institutions foster international cooperation, shaping the way countries interact today. So, as we move into this part of the presentation, let's consider the relevance of the nation-state amidst globalization. Despite the increasing interconnectedness of our world, the nation-state remains a fundamental unit of identity and governance. It provides a sense of stability, sovereignty, and control over local affairs, even as global influences grow stronger. Next, we'll look at the challenges of global governance in the 21st century. Managing issues like climate change, international security, economic inequality, and health crises requires cooperation beyond borders. These challenges are complex because they demand coordination among diverse nations with differing priorities and capacities. Finally, we'll identify the roles and functions of the United Nations. The UN serves as a platform for dialogue, peacekeeping, humanitarian aid, and setting international standards. It plays a crucial role in fostering multilateral cooperation and addressing global issues collectively. Understanding these elements helps us grasp how local and global forces interact and shape the future of international relations. Weiss and Thacker in 2014 describe global governance as the totality of norms, laws, policies, and bodies that define and facilitate transnational relations. Essentially, it's about how countries and international organizations work together to manage issues that cross borders. This includes everything from economic policies to environmental agreements and security partnerships. The key point here is that global governance provides the framework and institutions necessary for cooperation on a global scale. It's a vital concept because it helps us understand how international order is maintained and how collective action is achieved beyond individual nations. Throughout this presentation, we've been exploring the interconnectedness of the world, and global governance is at the heart of ensuring that these connections function smoothly and effectively. Now, let's talk about some of the key functions of the United Nations. First, promoting sustainable development is essential. This means working towards economic growth that also protects our environment and ensures social equity for future generations. Next, protecting human rights is at the core of the UN's mission, making sure that everyone, everywhere, is treated with dignity and respect. Upholding international law is also crucial, as it provides a framework for peaceful interactions and resolving conflicts. Delivering humanitarian aid is another vital function. When crises happen, the UN steps in to provide food, shelter, and medical care to those in need. Lastly, maintaining international peace is fundamental. The UN works tirelessly to prevent conflicts, resolve disputes, and promote stability around the world. All these functions are interconnected and serve the larger goal of creating a safer, fairer, and more sustainable world for all of us. Let's take a closer look at the 6 main organs of the United Nations. First, we have the Secretariat, which is responsible for executing the daily activities of the organization and is led by the Secretary General. This is essentially the operational heart of the UN, ensuring that the policies and decisions made by other organs are put into action smoothly. Next is the Economic and Social Council, often called ECOSOC. Its role is to promote cooperation and facilitate policy dialogue on issues related to economic, social, and environmental development. Think of it as the forum where countries come together to discuss and coordinate efforts on some of the world's most pressing challenges. Then we have the International Court of Justice, which is the UN's judicial branch. Its main function is to settle legal disputes between states, providing a peaceful means of resolving conflicts through legal rulings. This helps uphold international law and maintain stability. Moving on, the Security Council is committed to preserving peace and security around the globe. It has the authority to make decisions that can include sanctions or even authorizing peacekeeping missions, making it one of the most powerful organs when it comes to maintaining international peace. The Trusteeship Council's role was to oversee the administration of trust territories, helping them transition toward independence. While its functions have diminished now that most territories have become independent, it was crucial in the decolonization process. Finally, the General Assembly serves as the central deliberative organ of the UN, with equal representation from all member states. It provides a forum for discussion, debate, and decision-making on a wide range of international issues, embodying the principle of equal voice for all nations. Together, these 6 organs form the core framework of the UN, each with distinct functions, but all working toward our shared goal of peace, development, and cooperation worldwide. The United Nations was established after World War II, with the main goal of maintaining international peace and security. It was created to help prevent conflicts from escalating into another global war, but its role goes far beyond just keeping peace. The UN also delivers humanitarian aid to those in need, promotes development to improve living standards worldwide, and works tirelessly to ensure that human rights are respected everywhere. These functions are all interconnected, supporting the broader theme of fostering global stability and cooperation. The UN's work is essential in creating a safer, more equitable world for everyone. Let's talk about the veto power of the Security Council. This power can actually hinder the adoption of resolutions, which is a significant challenge. Essentially, it reflects some of the structural issues within the UN's operational mechanisms. When a single permanent member uses their veto, it can block actions that might be broadly supported by others. This situation highlights the difficulties the UN faces in making swift and unified decisions, especially in crises. It's a reminder that while the UN aims to promote peace and security, its effectiveness can sometimes be limited by these structural challenges. Understanding this helps us see the complexities involved in international decision-making and the importance of addressing these hurdles for a more effective organization. Despite the ongoing process of globalization, it's important to recognize that nation-states still play a crucial role. Intergovernmental organizations, such as the United Nations or the World Trade Organization, rely heavily on the existence and sovereignty of nation-states to function effectively. These organizations depend on the authority and stability that nation-states provide to facilitate cooperation, enforce agreements, and maintain order. So, even in an increasingly interconnected world, the fundamental political units, the nation-states, remain vital for governance and international operations. This highlights how sovereignty and national identity continue to underpin global cooperation and stability. Now, moving on to slide 56, let's talk about the terms Global South and Third World. These terms are conceptually similar, and they typically refer to conditions we usually associate with developing countries. They highlight differences in socioeconomic and political development. When we conclude on the global divide, we're really referring to this stark contrast between the global north and the global south. The global north includes the developed nations, those with advanced economies, infrastructure, and high standards of living. On the other hand, the global south consists of developing countries, which often face challenges like poverty, limited infrastructure, and political instability. So, as we look at the bigger picture, Understanding this divide is crucial because it influences global relations, economic opportunities, and even policy decisions. Recognizing these differences helps us better grasp the complexities of our interconnected world. Now, let's explore the factors that lead to greater integration of the Asian region. What drives this increased cooperation and unity? Well, economic growth is a major factor, as countries recognize the benefits of working together to boost trade and investment. Political stability and shared strategic interests also play a significant role in fostering regional ties. Additionally, cultural connections and historical links help strengthen the sense of regional identity. It's important to differentiate between regionalization and globalization. Regionalization refers to the process of countries within a specific area becoming more interconnected and integrated. Think of it as localized cooperation. In contrast, globalization is a broader, worldwide phenomenon where economies and societies become interconnected across the globe, crossing regional boundaries. By understanding these distinctions, we see how Asia is both engaging regionally and participating in the global community. This dual process helps explain the push towards greater integration within the region, aligning with the overall theme of fostering closer ties and development across Asia. Now, let's take a closer look at the production networks among different Asian countries. These networks are primarily driven by market interactions, meaning that businesses and industries across Asia are increasingly interconnected through trade and supply chains. This interconnectedness helps boost efficiency and competitiveness across the region. Additionally, the establishment of formal institutions, such as the Asian Development Bank, has played a crucial role in fostering regional cooperation and supporting infrastructure projects. These institutions help facilitate economic integration and provide a framework for collaboration. Overall, these factors contribute significantly to greater Asian integration, which is a key theme in understanding how the region is evolving economically. By working together more closely, Asian countries are creating a more resilient and dynamic economic landscape. ASEAN operates on a consensus basis, which means that major decisions are made only when all member countries agree. This approach really fosters a strong sense of unity, even though it can sometimes be challenging to reach that agreement. What's truly inspiring about ASEAN is its commitment to diversity. Each member country brings its own unique culture, economy, and perspective. By working together through collaborative efforts, they create a collective strength that benefits the entire region. This experience of ASEAN highlights how unity in diversity can be a powerful force for development, demonstrating that cooperation and mutual understanding are key to achieving shared goals. It's a perfect example of how regional collaboration can drive progress while respecting individual differences. So, to wrap up, Asian countries have responded to regionalization efforts both collectively and individually. This dual approach has led to some really impressive results in terms of economic cooperation and development across the region. What's important to highlight here is that these countries are not just working together through formal agreements, but they're also taking individual initiatives that complement broader regional goals. This dynamic has helped foster stronger economic ties, boost growth, and create more integrated markets. Overall, this pattern of cooperation and individual action underscores the resilience and adaptability of Asian nations in shaping their economic future. It's a key part of understanding how regionalism in Asia continues to evolve and impact the global stage.